Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today we're doing our final ebook 0 update for Fury of a Demon by Brian Naslund, book 3, and the final book in the Dragons of Terra. So go me, I finished a series. Ebook 0 is a project I started to try to get through all of the ebooks on my Kindle, and finishing this one I am down to 6 of the original 10 that I started with. That's pretty good. This is one of those trilogies where I feel like I probably could have read the first book, enjoyed it as much as I did. It was like a 4.5 out of 5-star read for me. I highly enjoyed that one. And then just skipped to the last 2 or 3 chapters of this book and been totally satisfied. Because there was a lot of filler. It almost read as though he wrote the first book and then got a deal for the next 2 and had to fabricate some new conflicts to add in there, because it felt a little bit like he jumped the shark in the second book, because a lot of the things they seemed out of context for what was possible in that world. It just seemed odd to me. It went from like a kind of adventure, kind of high stakes political story to a mad scientist, everything is eating everything else and it's really gross kind of story. For a series called Dragons of Terra, there really weren't a lot of dragons. Like, dragon magic played an integral part in the whole thing. But, I mean, aside from, like, the first couple of chapters of the first book, you really don't see any close encounter dragons. Not a lot, anyway. Not in any way that was prominent. So definitely more time could have been taken with that. But, you know, one thing I do appreciate about this book in particular and this author is that he's really good at building exciting action scenes. Really good momentum, kind of gets you invested in it. I mean, I was feeling kind of lackluster on the story as a whole, because at this point I was like, I would just finish it out already. But then these exciting scenes would happen that would draw me back in momentarily. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I like to read him. Now, if he came out with something else, I would probably pick it up and read it, with one caveat. I've said it before, but it bothered me enough that I'm going to say it again. He talks about defecation so often in this series, to the point where you could almost like take a deep breath between each mention and you wouldn't pass out. Like, I mean, it's constantly throughout the text. If I had been like putting stickies in, this whole thing would be like so many, awkwardly, to the point where you wonder if the author has a fetish. It's really gross. So if he writes anything else and I read it, if he mentions poop even once, I'm out. The funny thing is, I picked this one up a couple years after having finished the second book, and my memory sucks. I was like, oh, there's really not that many characters to follow. Like, maybe 2 male protagonists and 2 female protagonists, and that's good. Yeah, there was like 5 men in here, and I had confused a couple of them, to the point where it took me to the end of the book to really figure out who was who again. It's funny. But that's okay. Some of them had kind of like throwaway roles in this one, and I figured it out eventually who was who. And I remembered the main bloke, Burchard, so that's the most important thing. Strictly for the writing style and the great momentum that he can create, it has such potential. I'm landing at a 3-star out of 5 at this, regardless of the stuff that bothered me. And hooray, I finished a series. So starting in January, my patrons voted and we are going to be running a different challenge every quarter. So what's upcoming? We picked the Incomplete Series Challenge because it's one we can all relate to needing, and I have my little drawing bucket here with a bunch of titles of books that I need to get back to. I'll cover more about my goals in that first intro video. Should be a lot of fun, and you're welcome to join along with us. As always, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.